My first question is, what was the biggest challenge to make this very new type
New
of album?
music?
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest challenge was to make the transition, of course, from being a classical musician to doing something completely different, and forgetting all of the rules that you were taught when you were a classical musician. So you have to forget everything you've studied and your way of playing, your way of thinking, and you have to kind of go back to the beginning and start again, and you have to learn to be very free, and you have to learn how to improvise. And then I started writing music, so it was quite a long journey, and it was very challenging, but the more challenging it became, the more I was determined to achieve this album and make this kind of music.
So how long have you spent to make this?
Wow, it's difficult to say because of course my last album was 8 years ago, which is a very long time. And I think through all of that process, of course I was trying then to change my style of playing and learn new things. So I think the whole time was, you know, the transitional period. And if certain things hadn't happened during that time, I don't think this album would have been made in the same way. And if I'd made it earlier, you know, maybe I wouldn't have known exactly the message I wanted to give as a musician. So I think it really happened at the right time.
So would you say you started to think about this album after you released the last album, which was 8 years ago?
I think I always knew that I wanted to try and do something different, and I wanted to venture outside of classical music, but I wasn't sure how to go about it and how to start. What was the beginning, you know, of the journey. So it was something I always knew, but it took a long time to come to this point, because it was just sort of changing my whole life, really. So it doesn't, you know, it doesn't happen quickly.
And you did it with studying, or, you know, playing with your friends, or did you have very busy schedule?
Yeah, I was still performing, because if I don't perform, you know, I that's what I love to do. So I can't go too long without having some kind of performance. So I was always still playing. But no, I learned many different ways. I would listen to a lot of music, and then I would improvise to the music I was listening to. And sometimes I would work with other musicians, and I experimented with a lot of different producers on the different kinds of sounds that I thought would be good for the violin. And then I met Andy Wright, who produced the album. And I met him just over a year ago. And immediately I knew that we would be a good match, because musically we speak the same language, and he could see my musical vision. He could see exactly what I wanted. So when I met him, I knew, okay, this album is definitely going to happen.
So about a year ago, you were ready to
Yes,
to start.
definitely. I mean, I think, you know, I'm always impatient, and if you'd asked me the same question 3 years ago, I would have said, I'm ready now. But I think everything happens for a reason, and, you know, maybe 3 years ago I wouldn't be as confident as I am now about the music, and, you know, life experiences change you, and you grow up, and you become, hopefully, a little bit wiser about things. So I think, you know, this was the right time, and meeting Andy then, I think it was just, you know, meant to be at that time.